Hey everybody, my name is Paul, I'm the Lost Scot, and welcome to my first look at Trouble Juice, a side-scrolling RDC shoot-'em-up by Dietzribi. Dietzribi? I apologise for butchering that name, I'll make sure the spelling is on screen. Someone please tell me how to say it in the comments. Before we start, I just want to remind you that I almost exclusively cover indie games both here on YouTube and over on Twitch. So if you haven't already followed me there, I'll put a link to my channel in the description. But while we're here, please think about hitting that subscribe button like a bucket of blood splattering over the platform you're standing on. Let's get to the game. It's been a while since I've had an excuse to talk about Nuclear Throne, the indie darling shooter from Vlambeer, so after 8 years, 8 years, I'm happy I can do that again. Trouble Juice does a lot of the same stuff. It has a similar big chunky brightly coloured pixel art graphic style, it has a similar kind of techno-industrial soundtrack, it has a similarly weird story concept, and those are all good things. The story in Trouble Juice goes that there's some kind of post-apocalyptic survival TV show, and the winner gets to be famous and gets prize money and whatever. To be honest though, none of this is important because none of that TV show stuff appears in the game. It's talked about in character descriptions and each character's ending, but during gameplay you never really see anything to remind you that you're part of an intergalactic competition. That's a slight disappointment, because I was a big fan of Smash TV back in the day, and I've seen other games recently try to capitalise on a similar idea where the cameras and the spectacle are part of the overall look. That's not the case here. The good news is that it doesn't really matter because of how fun Trouble Juice is once you start playing. The controls are super responsive, which they need to be in a fast-paced shooter. When you hit a button you know the game is going to recognise it and respond accordingly. The graphics are big and chunky and bold, so enemies stand out from the environment and from each other. Given the size of the sprites and the crazy numbers of projectiles that can appear on screen, it would have been really easy for things to get obscured so you had no idea where you are or what you're doing. But that doesn't happen because everything has a nice, obvious silhouette. In fact, the only times I've ever had trouble finding myself on screen has been when I've been firing so many bullets that everything gets hidden. But at that point, everything's also getting killed so fast that it doesn't actually matter. When it comes to shooters, the term we have for how games feel is juice, so this game is named perfect. That indescribable, inexplicable game feel, where things just work the way you want them to, is here in abundance. The sound effects are chunky enough to stand out against the music, and they communicate everything you need to know. While we're talking about aesthetics though, I feel like we need to talk about that retro TV look and feel. The CRT look is baked into the game, which is great for keeping you in the era. I know lots of people aren't big fans of interlacing. I don't really mind, but an option to disable it would be nice. The audio effects are almost exactly how I remember 8-bit and 16-bit computers sounding, so kudos to the devs for pulling that one off and reminding me that I'm old. Hello, darkness, my old friend. But at the same time, there's something about it that kind of exhausts my ears after a little while. Very specific to me, but I don't know if it's real low bitrate or a faked version, but there's definitely something about it that I can't take for long periods of time. And even writing this video, I had to take short breaks just to remind my ears what real sounds are like. Now, I said Trouble Juice is an RDC, so let's look into exactly what that means. In this case, the main procedurally generated things are the power-ups that appear in runs, the eponymous juice, and the layouts of the levels. I don't know how many power-ups there are, but they seem to appear at a pretty good rate. Every time it feels like I've seen everything and I'm getting a lot of items I've seen before, something new will appear to change things up, and that's always a good thing. There's a minigame, or metagame I guess, of bingo, where you can try to accomplish certain tasks in order to guarantee a new unlock. These tasks can be things like kill 1,000 enemies, or kill a boss without getting hit, right up to win a run with this character. And the prizes can be anything from a new type of power-up or skill to a totally new character. While we're on the subject of these characters, that's where you're going to notice the biggest difference in your playthroughs. You start with 2 characters available to you, Shlomo and Dasha, and I'll let you work out for yourself what their special abilities are. There are 5 character slots to fill up, and each one has an alt as well, although quite how you unlock them all is still a bit of a mystery to me. At first I thought that completing a run would do it, but apparently not, so there's definitely more for me to discover here. The one question I have about this game of bingo is, once you've completed all the squares, what happens? Is that it done for good, or does it get replaced by another empty board? I hope it's the latter, but I've no way to know that right now. One feature I find pretty interesting is the karma and curse systems. You can build karma by collecting the yellow gems that drop, and you can spend it on certain items in the juice shop. From my experience, the higher your karma gets, the more likely you are to see good items in there. Likewise, if your karma gets too low, the items will be absolute garbage, and in the worst case, actually cause you damage. Now, while I think this system is cool, there were no obvious karmic effects outside of the shop items, and it's way harder to get your karma that low compared to how easy it is to raise it. Easy will mean most players default to that playstyle, but shouldn't the extra effort have a reward at the end? To get your karma to drop that far, you need to try and miss all the karma gems, spend every one you get, and kill the shopkeeper every time you see him. Side note, killing the shopkeeper is clearly wrong, but it is very funny. You see him taking progressively more and more damage as your run progresses. It really made me laugh the first time I saw it.
You are a bad person.
But that made me wonder, what was the point? It's really hard to do, but there's no reward for it. Higher karma is obviously the intended route, but surely if you put in that much effort into getting ultra negative karma, then I'd have hoped to see some kind of inversion, where you gain crazy power. Curses are interesting too. From what I've seen, the more curses you have at any one time, the more waves of enemies you get per screen, although I could be wrong about that. But this is good because that could give you an element of risk versus reward with a mild synergy. So, for example, if you have a lot of curses and a juice that increases the chances of gems dropping, those extra waves gives you lots of extra chances for items to drop. It's not a mind-blowing synergy, but it definitely exists. And because of the nature of games in this genre, there could be others I've just not discovered yet. If you ask me, I think I'd actually like to see the karma and curses combined into one system, so the lower karma adds the effects that you get from curses right now. That way, at least you could kind of see a point in keeping your karma low if you were seeing some kind of benefit to the hard work. Outside of the shopkeeper, I'm a bit perplexed by the other characters that you come across in your runs. One of them offers you a trade. You give them one juice and you get a mystery one in return. This is good if you've picked one up that you don't like, but since you can choose from 3 or 4 options each time, the odds of getting something better are pretty slim and therefore not really worth sacrificing a good item for. The same goes for the scientist. In a similar vein, they let you basically flip a coin between a potential perk and a potential debuff. But outside of experimenting for this video, I've rarely seen any perk that makes the possible debuff worth the risk. Now, it's possible that high karma increases your chances of a positive outcome, but I can't say for sure whether that's the case or not. It'd be nice if it was, but I feel like it probably isn't weighted that way. If they offered something that I couldn't buy, like double damage or something crazy, then I'd be much more willing to take that gamble. And I think that leads us nicely into some of the complaints I have about Trouble Juice. And the main one is, I don't know what kind of longevity it has compared to other similar RDCs, or roguelikes if you insist, in this genre. Each run is pretty short, which admittedly can often be a good thing. Some games like Enter the Gungeon or Slay the Spire can head upwards of an hour per run, and that can be a bit long for me. A decent Isaac run, which is the standard on which I judge everything, is 25 to 40 minutes, which is a great session. 2022 Game of the Year Vampire Survivors ends your runs after 30 minutes, and I think that's perfectly acceptable. But from my experience, Trouble Juice only has 3 worlds, and assuming you make it to the end, you'll be done a full run in something like 15 minutes. Each world has a boss, but it's the same boss every time, and it's really only the final one that feels like a genuinely different encounter. Sometimes you'll run into a mini-boss midway through a level as well, but those are pretty much just supersized versions of regular trash enemies. And that's been the structure of every run I've played in my 3 or 4 hours so far. Now, the one caveat here is that I don't know if there are any secret paths to unlock with new areas or new bosses. It's possible that Trouble Juice has some well-hidden secrets along the same lines as Nuclear Throne, where you need to perform some very specific actions to get there. Again, I don't know if they do exist, I'm just saying they could. Otherwise, I can imagine players getting tired of repeating those 3 worlds after just a few hours. There are only so many platform layouts that are technically possible in a 2D space. One thing that should be possible in a 2D space is accessibility, but unfortunately there's not much to talk about here. On the plus side, the giant sprites should help people with some visual impairments, although I can imagine some issues when the screen gets busy, especially if you have some form of colour blindness. All of the dialogue is in text form, so if you struggle with hearing, then that won't be an issue. Music and sound effects are on separate controls, which basically should be a legal requirement if you ask me. Controls are fully redefinable on both keyboard and controller, meaning third-party devices for physical disabilities should be compatible. Last on my list, and please correct me if you know more about accessibility requirements than I do, is cognitive, and in this case, there's not much to work with. There are no difficulty levels to choose from. The starting character's special ability is slow motion, which might make it work for you, but because it relies on limited stamina to use, it's not something you could rely on for the whole game. So that's Trouble Juice. It is a lot of fun, and if it has any of those secrets hidden away, then it could be an absolute beast of a time sink. Even if it doesn't, and I've already seen everything, there's definitely a good few hours of shooty fun to be had. If you had some watchy fun with this video, watchy fun, really? Then please drop me a like, hit dislike if you object to the amount of gore splashing around, and leave me a comment if you're the kind of person who actually wants to see more bloody parts flying around. And if you haven't already, please think about subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss new stuff as it rolls out. Once again, I stream indie games like this on Twitch, and I have new first look videos as often as I can. I'm the Lost Scot, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.